Welcome, everyone, to Couch Potato Theater here on the Fandom Podcast Network. On Couch Potato Theater, we celebrate our favorite movies. I'm Kevin. I'm your host, and I'd like to welcome you to Outland 1981, a Alien 79 prequel. We'll get into that because we got a lot to talk about here. But we wanted to remind you guys, first of all, this is Couch Potato Theater here on the Fandom Podcast Network. We got a different look going on here. We got some new logos we're proud of here. And we are celebrating Outland. It is now currently celebrating, as of this recording, its 45th anniversary. Where were you? We will ask that. And if you are watching the video here on the Fandom Podcast Network YouTube channel, please hit that QR code. That will take you to our Linktree account with all of the links to all of our social media and shows on the Fandom Podcast Network under that umbrella. So make sure you check that out. And of course, there might be a little advisory warning for some possible adult content here. So keep that in mind. We are celebrating Outland, and I'd like to introduce our guest. With me, as always, is the co-founder of the Fandom Podcast Network. Please welcome Mr. Kyle Wagner. What's going on, buddy?
I am doing well. I'm trying to think, though, Kevin, we have our new logos, but this might be the oldest movie we've done on Couch Potato Theater.
Let's see here. This is 81. Well, no, it's 81. We did do a Raiders of the Lost Ark, and we've done Raiders of the Lost Ark was the same year. So it's possible. That's an interesting observation. Yeah. So.
Well, you know, it's all that synthetic stuff I've been shooting up is making me work overtime on podcasts. I got a feeling in about 11 months, so I'm screwed. So,
well, I want to warn you, Kyle. They've sent some hitmen to try and kill us here on the Fandom Podcast Network space station. So
that's a you problem.
That's a you problem. Okay, yeah. Well, I'm hopefully gonna get some deputies to help me out because the other ones were kind of shit. So we'll see. We're gonna start with one of our Union Federation co-hosts here. Please welcome Mr. Gary Akers. What's going on, buddy?
Hello, greetings, everybody. You know, that was one heck of a long elevator ride to get here. I'll tell you, I have no idea what sub-level we're on, but that took a while.
Did someone hit all the buttons?
Yes. Gary, how did you get here on the elevator with no suit on?
I know, right? Yeah.
I got questions.
Shenanigans. Now, this podcast actually was inspired by one of our good friends of the network here, the host of the Lethal Mullet action film podcast here on the Fandom Podcast Network. Please welcome Mr. Adam O'Brien. What's going on, buddy?
G'day, fellas, and as we say in Australia, g'day Kevo, g'day Kylo, and g'day Gaza. How are you? So I'm going to say this film is one of those ones which Sean Connery just went, give me the paycheck, I have to pay off the golf course. And of course, that's just one of the things that he looked at. Post-Bond, it was, give me the money. But I tell you what a film and what a director. Peter Hyams gave us Time Cop later with a lot of spin kicks. We're ready for it.
Wait, how much time do you think Sean Connery spent on the golf simulator they used in Outland?
I know, right? It's like, get out of my way, Peter Boyle. Here we go. All right. Yes, we are celebrating Outland from 1981, and we're going to have a little bit different discussion on here at the top of the show here. We'll get to that in a moment, but we're going to talk about the comparisons. A lot of fan theories out there about Outland and Alien, the original Alien from 1979. Can Outland be considered a prequel to Alien? We'll get into that a little bit later here. But of course, this is the Fandom Podcast Network and Couch Potato Theater. So let's go ahead and get into the cinema discussion here. All right, guys, I'm excited about this. We got a lot to talk about. Outland. I love showing the old Outland poster if you're watching the YouTube here. I love the old ads from the newspapers showing, like what channels, maybe it's going to be on TV or if it's going to be at your local cinema. I miss opening up our old newspapers, guys, and seeing these ads. Yep. Right, Gary?
Oh, yeah. Every Friday, LA Times, spend about a half an hour with all the double page spreads, planning your weekend, which movies to go see.
If I could remember and go back in time, I would love to have clipped those out of our newspaper and put them into like a book or something like that, because some of those are just gold, and it's nice to see those on the internet still. Kyle.
But how many of you guys it was either that or it was trying to call the theater, getting through busy signal after busy signal so you could get the new updates?
No, welcome to Movie Phone.
That's right.
It isn't even free movie phone. You're just calling the theater itself.
Well, as we do here on Couch Potato Theater, we have the IMDb, possibly vague, not always spot on plot description here. And Outland says, in this film, Pattern on High Noon, 1952, a marshal on Jupiter's moon Io is assigned to a remote mining colony and discovers the illegal selling of amphetamines. He starts to look deeper when miners begin dying from the drug, which increases their productivity. The marshal finds very few allies in the corporate-controlled colony when assassins are sent to take him out. This movie was released on May 22nd, 1981, at a running time of about an hour and 49 minutes. And budget was about $14 million and made just around $17 to $20 million. So it made a little bit of money, but not enough to go, let's make a sequel out of this. Hyams, the director, Peter Hyams, said, quote, I wanted to do a Western. Everybody said, you can't do a Western. Westerns are dead. Nobody will do a Western. I remember thinking it was weird that this genre had endured for such a long time and now they're gone. But when I woke up and came to the conclusion, obviously after other people, that this was actually alive and well, but in outer space, I wanted to make a film about the frontier, not the wonder of it or the glamour of it. I wanted to do something about Dodge City and how hard life was. I wrote it, and great fortune, Sean Connery wanted to do it. And how many chances do you get to work with Sean Connery? The film was developed by Universal, by Hyams and producer Richard Roth. Universal turned it down. Then Roth, who had developed a deal at 20th Century Fox under Alan Ladd Jr., took the project to Ladd's new company, the Ladd Company. So, guys, I want to ask you, and I'm going to start with you, Gary, because I have a feeling you saw this in the theater originally. So how did you see it originally, and how did you watch it recently?
Okay. It is so funny that you have that particular graphic. I'm looking at a very lovely kind of Art Deco cinema graphic. I remember seeing this with some friends at the Fox Westwood Village Theater, the big kind of palatial theater that's right in the heart of Westwood. There's another theater right across
Hollywood, California area, right?
Westwood, California.
Okay, gotcha.
And right outside UCLA. And I remember seeing it on, I think, the Friday night that it opened around like 10 o'clock because we went to the late show. And I think that's what you got to do. You got to go see this like late at night. So I think it was like the Friday 10 o'clock show at the gorgeous Westwood. And it's one of those theaters which you go inside, it's just massive. It's like you're in the middle of a town when you're inside. I can't believe you got
to see this in the theater originally. That's awesome.
Yeah, cool. No, it was this movie needs to be seen on a big
now
screen.
I know how you watched this recently. We'll talk about that in a second, but let's go to Adam here. Adam, you were one of the people that was, to me, was also a big fan of this film, and I, like myself, I didn't know a lot of people that liked it. I think you were one of the first people, and then Kyle kind of chimed in later. We were like, I love Outland, and didn't you cover it on Lethal Mullet once too?
With a certain Kevin, the Raider Nerd Reitzel, yes. Episode number, I think it was 78 we did.
That's
so
right.
Way back in 2020, and it's when I went on eBay and I was looking for Outland, couldn't find it. Yet all of a sudden, a VHS turned up of Outland. I'm like, wow, I've got to get that at least, Got that, and of course, then found a Blu-ray came out maybe about a month later or something like that through Amazon. So we've always had that. Now's the 4K's out as well. But I'm going to tell you something interesting that I did bring up on that episode is that I actually read it first, didn't watch it first. And guess what magazine it was in? Mad Magazine. I do believe it's Mort Drucker's art that really drew me in. And I'm like, hang on, that's Sean Connery. What's this movie about? And, of course, from there, we got to see it on TV, late night on Channel 9, with all the millions of bloody advertisers they put in the middle of it for, obviously, late night TV. But I was like, this looks great. It looks a lot like Moon 44, which I'd just seen, with Michael Paré, and of course a host of other B movie talent. Yes, the guy from Terminator goes, "Wash day tomorrow, nothing clean," right? Same guy. But of course, it was in this universe of films coming out using miniatures and of course using some great, fantastic set work. And you get Sean Connery in this with, of course, Peter Boyle. I mean, who doesn't want that?
You're on mute, Kevin.
You're on mute.
Sorry, so you originally saw this on VHS then?
On TV.
Oh, on TV. God, wow.
I have to ask you, did they drop a commercial right in the middle of Connery's like parkour chase with the drug dealer, just as he's like running through? It's like, we'll be right back to Outland after these messages.
So, Kyle, how did you originally see this film?
This is the great thing about growing up in Alaska in the wintertime. Gary says you have to see this movie late at night. No, I didn't. I could watch it at about 2 in the afternoon and it was pitch black outside. So honestly, the first time I saw this was probably on HBO. I was a little young when this came out. I was 6 when this came out. So it was a little later on HBO, and then I rented it from video store later when I had a little bit older and a little bit more appreciation of it. But yeah, the first time you see this is always what I find so interesting about this film for me is, it's weird to see Sean Connery in this film, because this is not, especially for the first time you see it, because you're so used to him as Bond. But this is really, we're in that era of, okay, space is dirty. It's not clean. It's dirty. Alien kind of started this, and this movie picked up right from that. And I know that we're going to address that some a little later, but that was something about this era of space films is everybody got into space is dirty.
Yeah.
And you have that aspect with what's going on and it's so interesting. And what the other thing I like about this movie is it's compact. It sticks to its story. It runs with it. And you're in and out, and you feel like, okay, I got the story I wanted, and it didn't go in 18 million directions.
Yeah, that's a good call. It's a tight movie. So I feel like I might have been the person that saw it later than everyone else, because I may remember seeing it on VHS at my local video store, but I never picked it up to watch it. It wasn't until it came out on DVD. And I don't know, maybe I was watching like the Sean Connery Bond films or something, and I went like, what's this Outland? I ended up watching it, and I'm like, man, this is pretty good. I like this. It's got a cool certain feel to it. Obviously, I got the kind of High Noon reference and stuff like that. So that's how I originally saw it. I don't even remember seeing it in the theater at the time. I think I was probably ignoring it because I was going to see, like Raiders of the Lost Ark, or waiting to see Raiders of the Lost Ark, because this one came out before Raiders of the Lost Ark in 81. This one came out in May. Raiders of the Lost Ark came out in June. So of course, my hometown of Santa Barbara was infamous for not always carrying every single film, or having it like in a very limited release for like just a week, and then it was gone. So, but Gary, as I alluded to though, this movie has a cult following, and they finally released a 4K version of it here. And I'll go ahead and show the video here of the 4K version here on the big screen here. But Gary, hold up your copy there, man. We actually have the 4Ks in front of us here. And it has a new artist interpretation of the cover, which I'm going to be completely honest, Gary, I'm going to get your opinion. I don't like this cover. I don't like this artist interpretation. But when you take off the slip cover, you see the original version of it here. What is your thought of the artist interpretation of the cover?
It seems like from such like a specific moment, from the beginning where the first worker dies. And it's like, is it representative of the movie for people who haven't seen it? Well, no, it's more kind of like, it's cool and it's bloody. I don't really like it. But it's weird, Kevin, my cover on the interior is this.
Is yours reversible?
Oh, is it?
If you open it up, it's reversible. And I put put the original cover on the outside of it. So yeah.
Even this is kind of an odd choice.
Yeah, it's like a red silhouette, of Sean Connery's character standing up there. It's weird. Kyle, you got a thought?
Well, no, the red silhouette is Jupiter's eye.
Right, that's right. Yeah.
And truth be told, if you hold up, so Kevin, you're holding up your disc with the original poster art.
Yeah.
I've honestly never been enamored of that as a I mean, obviously you have to get
Sean Connery holding his shotgun. I mean, that's pretty
but you have
cool.
to get Connery out there on Jupiter's Moon. He's the only, and I always think about these things. I don't know if you guys do for older films. Is that like the most appealing way to get people into the theater and give you an idea about what it is? And I thought, well, surely I don't know what it would be, but
Kyle, go ahead, but I'm going to show what's inside the actual 4K that you get here.
Here's the thing with that cover. If you take off the tagline, you have no idea this is a science fiction film. If you just look at the poster. And I think that's kind of the weird thing about it, is if you just see this image of Sean Connery holding that shotgun called Outland, you're thinking, you are not thinking science fiction at all.
So speaking of poster, you do get a reversible poster inside the new 4K. You get the original one that we've been talking about with Sean Connery and his shotgun. And then on the other side, they have the Artist Interpretations new poster as well. So you get the little double poster. I still like the original better. That's what caught me. That's was like, oh, that looks kind of cool. And then I'm glad the DVD thing. And then also it comes with a cool little booklet inside as well.
Kevin, don't lie. You saw it and went, what is Ramirez doing with the shotgun?
That's right, yeah.
I mean, let's face it.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're right. You're right.
I was just going to say really quickly. I mean, I'm just in my mind immediately trying to compose like an off the top of my head tagline, something like his last stand ... at the edge of the galaxy or something like that. You know, which would have been.
Hey, you went to go see it in the theater, so something brought you there, mister. So what I like to do sometimes, if I have the Blu-ray, which I do, I upgraded the DVD to Blu-ray a few years ago. I did that. But then I decided to just put all the Blu-ray, the 4K, and the DVD into the whole new 4K thing. So it's all in one shaboom here, which I like. So, but yeah, so anyway, it's really good. Now, Gary, you have watched this. Obviously, the 4K is great. It's got the new 4K restoration from the original 35 millimeter negative by Arrow Films. There's also some archive audio commentary with director Peter Hyams. There's a brand new audio commentary by film critic Chris Alexander. A Corridor of Accident. It's a newly filmed interview with director Peter Hyams. Outlandish, a newly filmed interview with director of photography Stephen Goldblatt. Introvision, William Mesa on Outland, the newly filmed interview with visual effects artists. And there's a couple other special features on here, but give me your thoughts on the 4K restoration of this, Gary.
There's a couple times when I was rewatching it again last night where I'm just like struck by the 4K, especially at the beginning with just the vistas and all you have is the music at the beginning. And you've never seen those alien vistas and the long shots of the Con-Am setup. You've never seen them like that until you've seen it in 4K. And all the scenes where Connery is like going outside, anything that's not like the grim and gritty interior, the studio film stuff inside, like when he's like out walking along the greenhouse or any of that stuff, it really you just sit there and go, wow. I mean, you really appreciate Hyams's composition. Yeah. Of all these shots when you see it like this.
Highly recommended if you're a fan of this film. Check out the new Arrow release of the 4K. It's really, really good. So let's go ahead and get into the movie discussion here, guys. This is where we really want to talk about some parallels, similarities, a lot of fan discussion about how Outland could be related to and be a prequel to the original 1979 Alien. And what's really cool too is I found an article, which I'll get into a brief part of it here, a recent one talking about this. But before I get into all of that, though, I want to kind of get your guys' thoughts on when you started hearing about the similarities, or is this something you noticed when you first watched it for the first time? Kyle, I'm going to start with you.
Well, as far as the super direct similarities, you were the person who kind of enlightened me on that was really becoming a thing. But I mean, when I watched it for the first time, again, I go back to the aesthetic of the two films, the way the sets look, the dirty feel of space. Outland obviously pulled a lot of that from Alien. You can feel the symmetry between these two as far as the set pieces go, how things look. I think, truthfully, where the differences kind of lie, and it could be because of settings and everything like that, is just Outland. Even though it's a science fiction movie, there's so many aspects of it that feel closer to the modern era, the era we were living in at the time, compared to Alien. Alien did feel more out there in space, probably because also you did have the alien, but with Outland, it felt like, okay, this could have been a story on Earth as well. And but I think that's what makes it interesting. I have to throw this out here now, even though I know we'll talk about it in class. When you have a doctor named Lazarus, that's there's a lot of things going on there. But I mean, it felt like a dirty cop movie in space. And what I mean by that is not just that you had dirty cops. It felt like a Nighthawks or something like that, where you have these cops who are living in the dirt, in the nasty, in one of the worst areas of town, or in this case, one of the worst areas of space. And you've got the one good one who's trying to do right, and even he's not exactly perfect.
Right. Adam, what about you? When did you start realizing the similarities of Alien and Outland?
Well, it begins with, the fact that some of the suits at the start are rumored to have been leftovers from Alien itself, used by some of the actors, or even some of the hoods and stuff like that were leftovers from Alien itself when it was produced. So, there's that aspect of it, but there's always been this aspect of it being part of the larger Alien universe, which incorporates things like Soldier, Blade Runner, 2049, and of course the Prometheus, etc. So there's actually an article I was looking at just before we came on, and it looked at, there's a number of options and how you could sort of lay it out in a time frame. So
hold on to that discussion, because I got that coming up next. I got the time frame with us. Yeah, definitely.
But it was Starlog magazine which really brought this up. These great UK magazines, which, thumbs up there, Gary. but yeah, Starlog was something years ago, I was working at a McDonald's in Brisbane. And the guy next to us had a news agency, which always got in SFX Mag. I think it was Sci-Fi Now, both British mags as well. Mm-hmm. And Starburst, was the other one, I think? I can't remember.
Starburst. Yeah.
But what he would do is he would just trim off the title off the front page, and it became a free magazine, basically. And so he'd come in and he'd say, look at the back. Usually it's about the last 10 pages. They would have a retro article. So have things like, look at Star Wars miniatures, look at things that were happening in Alien Universe. And a lot of it was looking at the Dark Horse stuff that was coming out at the time and trying to bring in that sort of expansion. So with that, then they looked at how would you incorporate movies like Moon 44, which was one that first came up. Terminator in the same universe? They couldn't agree on that one. However, then came in 2012, obviously Prometheus and the sequel, Prometheuses. Right. You're welcome, Blair. I said it. But obviously Alien Covenant, right? How do those line up? And now obviously Alien Earth and all that sort of stuff. To me, the big ones are actually more Blade Runner and Soldier. Yeah, Soldier's even a side sequel to obviously Blade Runner and then later 2049. But they're already talking about Io. They're already talking about the little planets that have been lined up. This one, a garbage planet. Yeah, there's a spinner on it. It's cool. But at the same time, it feels that sort of used future you guys were talking about.
Kyle?
Adam brings up an interesting point, because it's also timing of this. He talks about how Starlog and stuff was about 2012 when they started doing this. 2012 is about when we started really getting into the franchise era of movies, where everything
wait, back up. 2012 what?
Adam was talking about 2012 with the article showing up in Starlog and things of that nature.
Oh, okay, I see. Gotcha.
When Prometheus came out, so Prometheus was such a big event, and then everyone, is particularly in the British community of magazines and all that sort of stuff, they just started bombarding everyone.
Gotcha.
Mainly because they knew they'd get sales. It's all about the money.
But I think a lot of this spans out because that, Kevin, if we really look back in Hollywood history, I think that's the modern era of franchise connection and these deeper universes starting and things like that. And I think this was people's way. People started connecting the dots with similar type films and like, how can they fit together? Because I think that's where everybody's mindset was going. Oh, let's create franchise, make larger franchises out of this. And I think this was things like this were a byproduct of that, of tying films together that were never intentionally meant to be related, but end up having aspects of it that can make them related.
What about you, Gary? Where did you kind of think like, oh, man, these two worlds can be the same thing?
It was, I at the risk of sounding naive, it was only been the last couple of years where I started to hear about this theory that Alien and Outland were in the same universe. And I thought, well, okay, I guess maybe because of how the workers schlepping around the universe, in dehumanizing service to this big company, and that the people are expendable to the company's pursuit of either their product or their profit or whatever. I hadn't tagged on to it before. As far as the aesthetic goes, I think here's why. Because for Alien, and I'm totally open to being corrected on this. For Alien, it seems like you have all the kind of like the pristine ship, that's invaded by this, alien with all the, corrosive stuff and just all of that. But the ship itself, inside the ship, inside the Nostromo, things look kind of white and clean and pristine and everything. And there's nothing about that in Outland. Even in Shepard's office is kind of grimy and run down. So I think that's probably why I never connected up the visual aesthetic, because to me, at least the first Alien seems too clean for what Outland was putting. I think what does tie it together for me is the idea of humanity is put far, far, far second to the company or the corporation's pursuit of profit. So in that sense, I can see the tie-in.
So, it's interesting. When I first saw this film, I immediately thought, this feels very alien-y, this could be the same world. And I remember I shared it with some people, but I didn't really do social media about it and stuff. But I remember that I'm like, this, and that made me want to go back and watch Outland, because it felt like this could definitely be a Alien prequel, especially with the whole kind of corrupt government type of thing, and how people, they don't really care about their workers, and they're providing this drug for them to work faster. Kyle, did you have another thought?
Yeah, because the more I thought about this, especially after rewatching Outland last night, even though it ties in and people try to tie it in as a prequel to Aliens and the time mindset in the time frame, truthfully, if you don't have Carter Burke being as slimy as he is in Aliens, you probably don't think too much of, and with the company line being the bottom line, I don't think you tie Outland and Alien together as much, because I think Aliens really was the film that really established how dirty the company was in the Alien universe.
Well, there was hint. I just watched Alien, and there was some hint to it, the mother, as they refer to it, and that Ash, the android, was tied into that and was manipulating the crew, and the only person making the right decisions was Sigourney Weaver, because she was trying to keep the protocol of not letting in this foreign object in there and stuff like that. So there was hints to it, but yeah, it wasn't until Burke was like, okay, this is the slimy corporate guy here. But guys, I wanted to talk about, Adam.
So I was going to say, look, have you guys ever been a truckie? You've ever worked in a truck before? So Alien is about truckers, right? Truckers in space. When you in your cab, you keep your cab clean as anything. You don't bring your boots in, all that sort of stuff. I used to be a truck driver, and the one thing I know about it is that your trailer is going to look like dog shit. It's going to look bad, and that's the part that I sort of accumulated with the rest of Outland. And yes, you're right on with Outland. I mean, it's a rundown, grimy. It's not just. It was a visual representation of the corruption that's in the actual facility, obviously. That's being run down. But as a trucker, I got it, because I used to do runs down to Melbourne from Brisbane, and I B-double. So understand, you've got to keep everything clean, because you've got to sleep in that, mate.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. Speaking of, you guys,
so it's got to be clean.
There's that movie called Space Truckers. Remember that one?
No, we're not going there, Kevin. We're not going there.
So I want to talk about the time frame here, guys, which kind of also lends to how these two movies, Alien 79, of course, Outland here, of how it could be a possibility. So the Outland time frame says the film Outland 1981 never explicitly states a specific calendar year on screen, but however, the story is generally estimated by fans and critics to take place in the late 21st or early 22nd century, roughly 100 to 140 years in the future from 1981 when this film came out. Now, the 1979 Alien time frame takes place in the year 2122. So you can kind of go, all right, I could see where those kind of go on there. And the Weyland-Yutani Corporation timeframe, so commonly referred to as Weyou or simply the company, was a British-Japanese multinational conglomerate formed in 2099. So that kind of ties in a little bit with the time frame for both the films. By the merger of Weyland Corp and Yutani Corporation. Weyland-Yutani was primarily a technology supplier, manufacturing synthetics, starships, and computers for a wide range of industrial and commercial clients, making them a household name. Now, the Outland Mining Company name is called the Con Amalgamate Corporation, commonly referred to as Con Am. Runs a titanium ore mining outpost on Jupiter's moon Io, headquartered on Earth with local facility operations managed by Shepard, played by Peter Boyle. Conditions: notorious for pushing record-breaking productivity quotas while turning a blind eye to the illegal high-potent narcotics, PDE, distributed to keep miners working on dangerous paces. And then, of course, we did mention the Weyland-Yutani group, which, of course, we learn a lot more later on throughout the Alien universe. Now, you mentioned this, Adam, earlier, and thank you for bringing this movie to my attention. But there's another film that also has a similar feel to it when you watch it, and that is Moon 44. Came out in 1990. The fictional Moon 44 is located on a remote region of space known as the Outer Zone. The rival corporate adversary in Moon 44 is the Pyrite Corporation in the film's 2038 futuristic setting. A resource-drained Earth relies on warring interstellar conglomerates. The primary corporation entity featured is the Galactic Mining Corporation, which operates the endangered outpost on Moon 44. An internal affairs agent, played by Michael Pare, is sent undercover to Moon 44 among a crew of convict pilots, not only to deal with a threat from Pyrite, but to uncover a corporate sabotage, conspiracy, and traitor operation from within the galactic mining itself. It is directed by Roland Emmerich and stars Michael Pare, Lisa Eichhorn. Dean Devlin also has a small part in it. One of my favorite character actors, Brian Thompson, Malcolm McDowell, Leon Rippey, and Stephen Jeffries, who a lot of people, if you know Fright Night, he is Evil Ed. So I watched this recently on DVD because you reminded me a while ago, Adam, that this was a good movie to watch. I will get Adam back here in a moment. Have you seen this movie, Gary?
I have not, but it sounds good. I mean, I'll have to check it out and try to find it. I like Michael Pare and Malcolm McDowell.
Kyle, have you seen this?
I've seen it. It's been a long time ago. Part of my problem is anytime I see Michael Pare, I just expect him to break out into Eddie and the Cruiser's Greatest Hits.
Well, this movie was better than I thought it was going to be. And the ships that they fly in this remind me a lot of the drop ships in Aliens. And, you can kind of guess who the villain is. Malcolm McDowell. But it was a lot more fun than I expected it to be.
Kevin, would I still be able to watch that even though I haven't watched the first 43 Moon movies?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
But Adam, now that we got you back here, thank you for recommending Moon 44 because it is a fun film.
It's a great film. This is one which I didn't know what it was when I got it out because it had a really bizarre cover at the time. It had, the middle one there. And it was on a white. And actually, I've still got the VHS somewhere. I should dig it out. But there was a standee of Michael Pare standing at about 6'5" or something like that with a helicopter behind him. I'm like, that's got to be a movie to check out. Who is that guy? Had no idea who it was. I hadn't seen Streets of Fire, and I hadn't seen what was the other one? The one we played the rock and roll guy, Eddie and the Cruisers, I think it was. Yes, I hadn't seen those even yet. I had no idea who he was. And then I watched it, and I was like, wow, that's the guy from Terminator. Turns out it's done by the guy that directed later on Stargate and many other films, obviously. And Dean Devlin, the writer of bloody Stargate's in it as well, as one of the nerds that throws jelly beans everywhere and shit like that. But what is great about the film is that you believe the helicopters at the minimum. And I love the sergeant in it. It's not Malcolm McDowell, it's the other guy. It's in also the general in Stargate at the start, who's sort of trying to... He doesn't believe all what's going on, but in this one, he's sort of dealing all the drugs and paraphernalia and stuff like that in it too. It's a really grounded little film. It is. And I was surprised how good it was.
Yeah, and a lot of the character actors in that film are really good. They stood out in that one there. So, well, let's go ahead and elaborate more on this particular topic here. Alien prequel, Outland 1981. Over the years, fans have formulated a theory that this film could very well be set in the same universe as Alien 79 due to many similarities. Both were presented by Alan Ladd Jr., who greenlit Alien as president of 20th Century Fox, and Outland as head of the Ladd Company, and scored by Jerry Goldsmith. 9 department heads involved in production design worked on both movies. Each movie features a huge conglomerate that deals with interstellar mining and transport. A lot of them are known as the company and operates with little regard for the safety and well-being of its employees. Both movies feature a very similar production design and presents a, quote, used future where structures and technology don't look state-of-the-art but are worn out and visibly aged. Both movies have a protagonist who uncovers a company conspiracy, after which attempts are made to silence them, and they are finally left defending themselves completely on their own. Neither movie is set in a specific year, although Alien was retroactively set in 2122, so they could take place in the same time frame. I want to give a shout out to a article I found that came out last year in 2025 by David Lasby. He was part of bossrush.net, and he also noticed the similarities. And he says, as I watched Outland, I felt like I was watching a spin-off film, a story that helped build out the larger Alien universe. As a fan of the video game Alien Isolations, I got a kick out of O'Neill bearing the title of Marshal and not police chief or sheriff. Marshal waits, anyone? The colonial marshals are a celebrated aspect of alien lore within the expanded universe. The story could easily fit within that. So I just want to ask you guys, is this something in your head canon when you're watching Outland that you feel like, yeah, this is part of the this is going to become the Alien franchise? Gary, start with you.
I just don't know, because I just don't know that it would take place, as far in our future as what, the late 21st century, as you said, early 2200s, because I have to believe that in all that time that somebody would have developed a more advanced golf simulator. In all that, in the next 100 years.
Gary, keep in mind, back in 81, we were still expecting flying cars in the future. And we don't have that, but yeah. What about you, Adam? Is in your head canon here, do you think that this film is fun to be considered a prequel to Alien?
Look, I think it could definitely be in that lineup. And the reason is because there's a film that ties to this and ties to Alan Ladd, which you may have missed out in that little intro that you did before. So he obviously did Alien with them and obviously helped create Outland. But in 82, he also backed Blade Runner all the way. So for me, the three are definitely in the same universe, just at different times, different eras. So obviously in the early 2000s or 2019, whatever it is, Blade Runner takes place. Then later on we have, I think Outland would be probably a few decades at minimum before Alien, perhaps several even. But I do believe Total Recall is part of this universe.
I could see that, yeah. Alan Ladd was also crucial for getting Star Wars made as well. So he's kind of like, he's a savior for a lot. What about you, Kyle? When you were rewatching this last night, what were your thoughts on the similarities? Is it your headcanon like it is me?
So I'm going to actually credit something that is the most recent addition to the Alien franchise that makes this fit much more headcanon to me now than you would have even 10 years ago. And that is Alien Earth. Because of the war of the corporations and how the corporations are in Alien Earth, I think makes this fit more into that because of the aspect of the corporation. I think if you take the corporation aspect out of this, you can't tie it to Alien. But it's because of that corporation aspect that is the through line more than anything else. And while I don't think this is necessarily Weyland Yutani, but just how the corporations were behaving as we've seen in Alien Earth, I think really cements it more that it could easily fit into that time frame.
Gary.
A question, and I'm not asking, this is not a question I already know the answer to. I want to know what you guys think. I'm not looking more at the aesthetic or the corporations. I'm wondering, do the depictions of Earth track in this? Because at least for Outland depicts Earth as a place that you want to get to. You know, the mom is saying, oh, Earth is beautiful. You know, I want to take him back to breathe the clean air. That seems to be like the destination. Whereas places like Io and Con M27 is like exiled as far from, you know, civilization as possible. Does the fact that Earth in Outland seems to be a pretty good place track in this timeline, like with something like Blade Runner, where it's like, that is not that Earth at all? Or am I just seeing this wrong?
I got the feeling that, you know, because you get the feeling that the reason why they're out here is because, you know, that whatever's left on Earth isn't there anymore, you know, but a lot of people still consider Earth home because they'd rather be on Earth than a space station out in the middle of nowhere, you know. What about you, Kyle? What do you think?
I think this is called time frame, because when you look at the Alien franchise, really they're on Earth when they find Sigourney, they're back on Earth. It's much later when you have Ron Perlman call Earth a shithole. So I think if you were to go by time frame where Outland is, the Earth is probably still a nice place to be. I mean, even when you watch Alien Earth, which probably timeline wise isn't that far from Outland. I'd have to look that up, but Earth is still pretty nice looking in places. Yeah, there's places that are bad too, but that's always been the planet. But I think at the point of Outland, Earth is probably still fairly nice. Now when we get to, by the time we hit Resurrection, it's a shithole.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, let's get into some movie reviews here. We also got a letterbox review here. And Kyle, I'm going to have you read what Roger Ebert and Gene Siskel said. But before we do that, though, going to give Rotten Tomatoes a current score right now is the 59%. So yeah, and then the popcorn meter is at 55%. So it's over 50% here. Some favor is so we got that there. And then regarding the letterbox here, it's 3.4 out of 5. I think I gave it 3.5, 4 on mine. But Kyle, what do At the Movies, our famous reviewers, said back in 1981? What did Gene and Roger say?
Well, first of all, since this movie came out in 1981, we know this isn't AI Siskel and Ebert, so
yeah.
that's a good thing. So Roger Ebert liked the film as a fun escapist space opera. He praised Sean Connery's performance and enjoyed the adventure, brushing off logical flaws in the plot or the villain's behavior as harmless to the overall entertainment. However, Gene Siskel gave it a thumbs down, disliked the movie. He felt the film failed as a serious thriller because the antagonist acted unintelligently and the conclusion felt unearned. I have some thoughts about that later.
Okay. All right. Well, guys, let's get into some trivia here. And Kyle, go ahead and hit us up with the first bit of trivia.
Why do I all of a sudden have a craving to watch an old Superbit DVD? One of the few movies to be released theatrically with the Mega Sound system format, early surround sound. Mega Sound was a movie theater sound system created by Warner Brothers in the early 1980s. It was used to enhance the premiere engagements of a handful of Warner Brothers movies. Theaters equipped for Mega Sound had additional speakers mounted on the left, right, and rear walls of the auditorium. Selected soundtrack events with lots of low-frequency content, thuds, crashes, explosions, etc., were directed to these speakers at very high volume, creating a visual effect intended to thrill the audience. Megasound was created by Warner Brothers and was officially developed during the 1980s. Warner Brothers used it to provide deep bass entertainment to premiere engagements for a handful of their features, including Altered States, Outland, Superman 2, and one of Kevin's all-time favorites, Wolfen.
Oh,
Yes.
No, the sad part is,
Harry, you're a fan of Wolfen too?
I love Wolfen.
here's
Love
the sad part about all this. What they didn't realize is within 20 years, everybody would have Megasound in their homes.
Yeah.
I would have thought, Kyle, that Mega Sound would have been debuted with something like the movie Mega Force.
Well, no,
Hold on to that thought. Okay. Hold on,
no.
Kyle. Hold on. I'm going to bring that up in a moment here. So,
well,
first,
Megasound was a special force of Megaforce.
Well, Sir Sean Connery was given special permission to miss a morning's filming in order to film a minor but important additional scene for the movie Time Bandits 1981 on a housing estate in nearby Slough. Connery was one of those who had suggested the Time Bandits director Terry Gilliam some weeks previously that he appeared in an extra scene and was determined to keep his word. Although the producers of Outland were not contractually obligated to let him do this, they decided to give in to Connery's request as a gesture of goodwill, and they were able to film around his absence using his stunt double. Connery reappeared after lunch and normal filming resumed. So there you go. Kyle.
That's at that time was a major power flex for an actor. These days, now Spider-Man can say, no, you're going to push the start of this movie, of the Spider-Man movie back, because I'm going to go do this Christopher Nolan movie called The Odyssey first.
Well, you brought up Megaforce, Kyle. Please read the last bit of trivia there.
Yeah, Outland was pioneering as the first motion picture to use Introvision, a variation of front projection that allowed foreground, midground, and background elements to be combined in the camera as opposed to using optical processes such as blue screen matting. This enabled characters to convincingly walk around the miniature sets of the mining colony. Other movies to use the Introvision, Stand By Me, it created the iconic perilous train bridge chase scene without placing the young actors in actual danger. The Incredible Shrinking Woman employed the system extensively to place actors inside massive stylized domestic sets. First Family, one of the earliest commercial demonstrations of the technology in a feature film. The Karate Kid Part 3 used to achieve a hazardous cliff climbing and fighting shots.
Now, if you're watching the video here, you will see a picture of one of the representatives in front of an Introvision poster. Kyle, you see the Outland poster on the right. What do you see over on the left?
I believe I see a Megaforce poster, but Kevin too, doesn't that guy look like he should have been working for Canon Films?
Yeah, he does, definitely. But yes, Megaforce, one of our favorite films here on the Fandom Podcast Network, also used this Introvision as well. So yeah.
So if I could ask, if you guys know, what would this have been superseded by?
I think they probably used a lot more green and blue screen coming up and stuff like that. I guess it would be it, I guess. And then of course CG after that. Yeah, that's what I guess. So yeah. All right, the next bit of trivia that we have here, guys, is a mining company. The mining company is referred to the name by Con Amalgamate. This is the same name given to the company that manufactured the defective life support system mentioned in Capricorn 1, which came out in 1978. Also written and directed by Peter Hyams. Con Amalgamate is also the name of the company that Peter Boyle's character Jack Mitchell says that he works for. In T.R. Baskin. It came out in 1971. Kyle, what do you got next?
Well, for this one, I really do feel like Haley Stoddard should be here to read this one, so I'm going to just try to do her justice here. In one scene in the movie, the planet Jupiter is seen in the background with its thin ice ring surrounding the planet. At the time the movie was made in 1981, the existence of Jupiter's ice ring was relatively new knowledge. The ice ring had been discovered 2 years before when the NASA space probe Voyager 1 flew by the planet Jupiter in early 1979. We just scienced the shit.
Yeah, we did. All right. So as we mentioned before, and it's obvious when you watch this, is that this movie draws on the Gary Cooper classic High Noon from 1952. Killers are on their way to kill the marshal, who finds himself abandoned by his deputies, and with one of the residents willing to stand with him. Numerous villains await the arrival of the killers. As the arrival time approaches, Sir Sean Connery enters a public facility in High Noon, a saloon, and then a church, and speaks to the townspeople, repeating the classic Cooper line, "I could use a little help," and receiving none. So there you go. Yeah. Anything new there that you learned, Adam or Gary, regarding the trivia?
Nothing that I could see out of point there. Like, I mean, we always knew it was High Noon, but there was also shades of shame in there as well. As, you know, obviously this sort of character coming into a town, cleaning up town, and then he heads off, which is what Shane is.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I didn't know about the details about the Intravision. That's why I always love hearing about all of the movie tech that was in the wake of Star Wars around that era, like since around and after Star Wars, because everybody was trying to constantly outdo each other with the next best thing in terms of the theater experience. The one thing about High Noon is that it's clear aesthetically in Outland about all the swinging doors, like even the doors to get into the bar in Outland, they're all like the classic Western swinging doors. So you have that.
Kyle.
When we talk about these old school technologies, especially right now with IMAX being so prevalent, you just wonder what these directors and actors would be thinking if they could do some of these movies with that kind of technology today, and what that would be like.
Well, and you guys remember, I guess it was around like 80, this was 81. So 82, 83 for like a couple, 3 years, everybody, was the big comeback of 3D. Yeah. Everything was in 3D, Jaws 3D, Space Hunter, all these 3D movies was like the next gimmick or the returning gimmick to try to get people.
Thank you for doing a shout out of Space Hunter. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
All right, guys, let's get into our favorite scenes here, guys. We got a lot to choose from here. And Gary, I want you to give me one or two of your favorite scenes of Outland.
Okay. I love the first meeting between, see, you're triggering me with that golf simulator shot, Kevin. I love the first scene with the meeting between Connery and Lazarus, where, she's just being about as grumpy as you could be. And, Connery is not having any of it. And they're kind of like, sparking off each other. That was really good. For me, my favorite scene in the film, which I think is like the centerpiece of the film, is the racquetball scene where Lazarus comes in. To me, that's the pivotal machine where basically, Connery, and it's not really clear whether he believes that she is his ally yet or not, but he basically explains to her about how, he's going to be, he's got something to prove to himself, and he basically lays it all out there. And what I think is a tremendously well acted scene from Connery, very vulnerable scene from Connery. And so I think that's just tremendous. That's my favorite scene in the movie.
Gotcha. Kyle, what about you?
There's a couple that stand out. Obviously, when he's chasing down the first drug dealer, and that whole chase sequence is just so good, because not only how they filmed it, but the fact that you were in such a compact area for the most part. And
it's like, how far can this guy actually run?
Yeah, there's only so far he can go. And then I think the other scene, as far as like just some emotional perspective, is when he's talking to his wife right before the assassins are supposed to come on.
She knows something's wrong.
Yeah, and she makes the comment like, "I know something's wrong. Your sentences are less than 3 words," and he goes, "I'm okay," continuing that thing. And Connery plays that with such calmness. Here's a guy who's got people coming to kill him. His wife, who had left him, is up on the screen. His son, and yet he controls his emotions so well. When I think, and an average person would think this person's on the verge of a complete breakdown, or
Right.
should be, and he controls his emotions so well. And I just want to, one other thing too, I do want to give a shout out to this movie because as much as it tried, Scanners came out about 4 months before Outland came out. So unfortunately, Scanners does get the, we developed the exploding head first.
Adam, what about you? What are some of your favorite scenes in Outland?
I like when Steve Burkhoff is just going nuts. I mean,
Yeah.
like it's such a, it brings down what police see in real life. You know, like if you haven't been around, especially Aussie cops, they're putting up with that sort of stuff all the time. Absolute dudes that are off the hinge, and in this case, this guy's out there. But it puts it in an environment we're not used to, which is this, you know, obviously space station, mining facility, whatever it is. So to me, that grounded it. And it's a very, you know, although it's a heightened reality, being a science fiction environment, it's the same old police stories. And that's why I think that scene in particular. And then I love, obviously, as the bounty hunters are coming down to land and the gunmen are coming through, there's that tension of the ticking clock. And, you know, there is that, what's going to happen. And it's very high noon. It is very much, you don't know what's going to happen. It's just all these men coming for him and one shotgun. And that's it. And it's such a pivotal Western moment. You know, in some ways, it's almost very Tombstone in some ways. That's what really grounds this into a different kind of film that you haven't seen before.
Kyle?
I want to throw into the opening sequence because you're already out in space in a high perilous, intense area. So you know things are tense. And to have him freak out and say he's seeing spiders, which is a spider can be, there's so many people who have a fear of spiders. And to tap those two things together right as you're kicking off the film tells people we're in for a ride on this film, because you're especially on the psychological side. And I think that it was a really well set up on how they did that.
Yeah. Visually this movie is fantastic for many reasons. I like the scene where he starts looking at video and using the cameras and kind of following like where the drugs are going and who's using them and who and then it leads up to that suspect that he's chasing. When he starts using his police skills is one of the things I like. And then of course I love it when he realizes that he's alone in this. And he starts, he hides a shotgun in that one panel, and then he's just waiting for the inevitable. And the tension is just palpable. It's a great scene there. One of the things that I liked is some of the favorite quotes here, and I picked up a couple here. And Rudd says, "You're supposed to protect us. You're the police. It's your job. Where are your men?" And O'Neill says, my men are shit."
Yeah.
And I love that when Marshal O'Neill is talking with Sergeant Montone, he says, "How deep are you in?" "Not too deep. I'm paid to look the other way." And O'Neill says, "I get it. You don't do anything bad. You just don't do anything good." Right? So, yeah. Yes.
Just a quick call out because before on screen, you were showing a picture of the opening shot, which really is a revelation in 4K. That opening vista where you get like the on-screen text about the corporation, IO, how the structure, the admin structure is set up. Because as the camera pans over this huge vista, and then off in the distance are what look like at that point very small little setup, but you zoom in and you realize this is a massive installation. But still, the way that Hyams shoots that, and then the music, it basically is clear that, I mean, to me, it's like, this is not a place that man is meant to be.
Yeah.
From the way that
Agree.
It just looks. And the one thing that's so, I think, striking about the production design of, I guess, what we'll call the dorms, the worker dorms, it doesn't look like a place to live. It almost looks like prison.
It does.
And it's like, it looks like it's like a warren of like hamster cages all stacked on top of each other, which I guess is kind of goes with how the company thinks of their workers. It's the production design is just very striking.
Kyle?
I just want to add into what Gary was saying about how everybody's crammed in. I have a little bit of experience with this, having gone through some shuttle simulations and things like that. And
Wait. Are you talking about Space Camp?
Space Academy, yes. But no, I mean, literally though, one of the things that you go through in that experience is, especially if you're in the cockpit of the shuttle, how cramped it is in there. There's not lots of elbow room, and that's truthfully the more true space experience. When we see these huge space stations, everybody's walking around on like they're in a luxury hotel. You have to have your resources, and because you're in space, you have to have more resources than normal. So you're more cramped because you gotta have what you need to survive.
Yeah, that's a good point. Guys, let's talk about the cast and crew discussion here, and let's start off with director Peter Hyams here. He is a very accomplished director, and we got a couple pictures from behind the scenes and on the set here. And you may recognize some of his other movies he's done here, of course, Outland 2001, Star Chamber, one of my favorites, Running Scared, Stay Tuned, another favorite, Time Cop, Sudden Death, Relic, End of Days, Presidio, which he reunites, of course, with Sir Sean Connery, Narrow Margin, a really nice thriller, and one of my favorite underlooked Harrison Ford films, Hanover Street. These are some of Peter Hyams' more notable films here. There's several others that he's done. But I want real quick, give me a couple of your favorite Peter Hyams films. Start with you, Gary.
I really actually like the Presidio, probably because I'm such a big Mark Harmon fan. And so even though it's kind of like a routine cop drama, not surprising, I think their chemistry is good. Meg Ryan's really good in it. I love 2010. I actually am one of the maybe few people in the world who thinks that 2001: A Space Odyssey is like totally overrated. And so I will take.
You are not alone in that.
I will take 2010 any day of the week. I think Roy Scheider is fantastic in that.
It is awesome.
What, 2010? Yeah, and also Time Cop. I think that's a very solid, Jean-Claude Van Damme's best. So there you go.
Adam, what is one of your other favorite Peter Hyams films?
Well, I'm going to put it up there. I think Time Cop's probably out of the bunch my favorite, but I agree with Gary. 2010's a fantastic film. I mean, a slice of sci-fi that's just bang on. But let's not forget, there was a third Universal Soldier, which he actually lensed for his son. His son was the director, but technically, Peter actually did the photography on. And that was bringing back, of course, Van Damme and Lundgren. And it's a super gritty take on the Universal Soldier thing. Not a great film, but for the reality of what those soldiers would have been brought back by, it's almost like the grittiness of Outland with the Universal Soldier sort of story, which again comes from somebody else we were talking about, which is of course Roland Emmerich, believe it or
not. Adam, you were guested on our Time Cop Couch Potato Theater because we were doing kind of a time travel theme there. So check that out on the network. Kyle, what's one of your other favorite Peter films?
Well, first of all, he was one of the few directors who really knew how to hit the magic button with Jean-Claude Van Damme and get a really good performance out of him. But for me, he is the director of, to me, the most underrated Arnold Schwarzenegger film, and that is End of Days. End of Days is really good. And Gabriel Byrne in End of Days is so evil in that film. And I think it is one of Arnold's most underrated roles and one of his most underrated films. I am a big fan of End of Days.
Well, guys, let's talk about the cast here a little bit. I want to get your guys' thoughts on some of the cast standout. Of course, we've got Sean Connery as Marshal William T. O'Neill, Peter Boyd as Shepard, Frances Sternhagen as Dr. Marion Lazarus, James B. Sicking as Sergeant Montone. We've got Kika Markham as Carol G. O'Neill, Clark Peter as Ballard, Stephen Burkoff as Sagan, even John Ratzenberger's in this film as Tarlo. It's just to name a few of the main guys here. But I want to kind of get your guys' thoughts on the rest of the cast. Gary, start with you. What are some standouts for you?
Because Outland really honestly is one of my favorite sci-fi films, I actually think this is one of my favorite performances from Connery. He's not the untouchable, unstoppable, near indestructible secret agent. He plays this guy. He's a man at the end of the line. He's in a moral crisis, trying to prove to himself that he's more a cog in this inhuman machine. And I mean, even though he does stick his hand in a tureen of boiling water. But I mean, he just plays that he's beaten down. I mean, he can't argue with anything his wife said, right? Because he knows that she's right. Every single thing, every single reason she gave for leaving, he knows is true. But he just feels stuck in this place. And, he's great. And I actually like James B. Sicking as Montone.
He is
because, I mean, he plays this conflicted character. Clearly, he likes Connery. Clearly, he's respects him. No, but he's not ordered to go take him food and to try to see how he's feeling, when his wife leaves. And so I think that he plays a very good conflicted character who probably wishes, he could do the right thing, but he's trapped in by his own decisions and then ends up paying for him.
Now, Adam, you have to leave us a little bit earlier. I just wanted you to give us your final thoughts here, and we appreciate you coming on for this Outland.
No worries. Outland, I think, is a great companion piece to all of the early 80s sci-fi, particularly Alien, particularly Blade Runner. And even in some parts, I do believe it's a sister to Soldier and Moon 44, films of that ilk. I think, you can definitely get a feel for where things were going at the time of practical effects and different things like that. The sets were fantastic. The performances, particularly Peter Boyle, I mean, crikey, what a slimy character. But I mean, he reminds me of bosses I had in the trucking industry years ago. You'll get to Melbourne in 14 hours, Adam. Just stay awake. You'll be right. Plenty of coffee and other good stuff. And that's, and the things we were hauling in those trucks back in those days, well, I tell you. But anyway, but the thing is, this is a very lived-in universe, and I'm sure you'll all agree, it feels tactile. There's something about it which, you could tell people have lived in it.
Adam, real quick before you go, tell people how they can reach your Lethal Mullet.
All right, you can catch us, of course, on fbnet.podbean.com/Lethal Mullet. And, of course, on that you'll find my show and, of course, soon to be the Lethal Mullet, the book too. Yes, you can take it home with you and read. And, of course, all the shows there. We've got, obviously, the main show. We've also got one looking at June called the Mullet Guild. We've also got the Mullet Reads, which looks at science fiction novels, etc. And many, many more, of course, coming. And, of course, one called The Animated Mullet with a guy called Kyle Wagner.
Nice. And you're on X and Instagram, right?
Correct. And, of course, you can find us on Facebook as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Adam. We appreciate you, brother.
And nice meeting you too, Gary, mate. You're
absolutely. This has been great. I hope we can do it again.
For sure. Even maybe Lethal Mullet. You never know.
There you go.
There you go.
Thanks, Adam.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Catch you guys. Have a good one. Bye.
All right. Kyle, I want you to give me some of your character highlights in this movie. What are some of your favorites?
Well, Gary said everything about Sean Connery. I mean, Connery is, considering what he's working with in this film, I think he is outstanding. What I like about it is he's the hero, but he's not even sure if he really is the hero. And I like that self-doubt he has in this film, and that he's trying to prove something to himself, not just trying to do the good thing. He's got to prove that he's not going to turn into Montone, where Montone, I think, goes there being a good man, but then gets basically broken by the system. He's still not a bad man per se. He's just turned a blind eye. Yeah. He's like, I might as well ride this. But I love James B. Seeking in this, even though this is definitely not his apex mountain, because his true apex mountain is being Doogie Howser's father.
Peter Boyle as Shepard stands out for me in this one, because I was not used to seeing him as a villain. One of his highlights was him in Johnny Dangerously, and I've seen him do so much more comedic stuff that I wasn't used to him being this kind of slimy, leader of this group. And also Frances Sternhagen is Dr. Martin Lazarus. I really enjoyed her performance as well.
She's the heart of this movie. She is the comic relief. She is the conscience a little bit, I think, for Sean Connery too, before he keeps him from breaking and giving into that. And also, I just love the fact, like when she's analyzing the data, this computer is too smart for me to be working with. Yeah. And I also love, like, when she's explaining, you do realize that the doctors they send out here aren't exactly
Yeah.
the cream of the crop.
And
So
I just read, and I didn't know this, I just read that originally that character was conceived as a male, and they were thinking about casting Charles Durning
Interesting.
in that role. And then
Well,
I thought, no, that wouldn't have.
I have some other casting trivia what ifs here. Gene Hackman, James Brolin, and Clint Eastwood were considered for the role of Marshal William T. O'Neill. Do you think any of those could have pulled it off better than Sean Connery, Gary?
No.
Eastwood, I'll make the argument for Gene Hackman. You know?
Okay, but honestly, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I love Gene Hackman, but it just doesn't. He to me wouldn't have that kind of like the rugged.
No.
The ruggedness, and Clint Eastwood alternately would be too. He was like nothing's gonna defeat Clint Eastwood. James Brolin would be interesting.
Hackman is Shepard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That would have been good. Yeah. Also, Bruce Dern was considered for the role of Sergeant Montone.
Okay.
And the role of Dr. Lazarus, the first offer to Colleen Dewhurst. So, yeah.
You know what? I couldn't, and I'm not trying to make a joke or be funny here. You know what, I actually had to actively work against last night when I was rewatching it. When all the Shepard scenes, I kept thinking that's Raymond's dad. That's Raymond's dad, and I couldn't. It's like, no, push that out because he's got to be the mean guy. But about Shepard, one funny thing, and I don't think I really ever noticed it before. I don't know if it was in the first scene with Connery or second, where he says to him point blank, "You got something to prove? Prove it to yourself, not to me." And I thought, well, okay. Sean Connery then takes his advice, and his whole rest of the movie is him going out and proving something to himself, but I never noticed that connection before.
All right, guys, we got some categories to get to here. Let's see if we can get to these here. We got the When Harry Met Sally scene, the best scene in a moment between two characters. And it's for me during the famous golfing scene where Sean Connery confronts Boyle's character here, and Boyle's kind of pulling a power trip here on these guys. I don't know if you guys agree if this is the best nomination for this, Kyle, or you got another one?
This is up there. I think any scene with Connery and Lazarus, one of the things I found funny, and I got reminded of it in the rewatch tonight. Sean Connery does not understand the vacuum of space, apparently, because he keeps asking for, why can't we do an autopsy? And when Lazarus finally reminds him of why they can't do an autopsy because of what happens to a human body in the vacuum of space.
Well, he's not a doctor; he's a sheriff. What about you, Gary? Do you have a nomination?
I do have a question. Are the golfing simulator scenes you're showing? Is this the second one after Connery's destroyed the drugs, where Shepard is still so nonchalant? It's like, oh, you destroyed all of them? I did. The one where Connery is I
think this is actually both scenes. This is
okay.
A picture from both scenes. The first one with him putting is from the first time they met, and then the one where he's swinging the iron, that's after everything's happened.
Yeah, I do think I would agree that these scenes are pivotal in that. I think this is where you get the best background on the company, and even Shepard realizes, look, he's just a cog. He's basically just a bigger cog, but he knows he's just like a cog consigned to this place too. No, really, a really good two-handers in this scene.
Next one we have here is the best fight scene. And I thought when he chases down the guy that's running the drugs, and then it ends up into the kitchen, that is, and that's where you kind of see the vastness of the sets that they built for this. And you're wondering, like, where are you going to run to? And finally, he catches up to him, but not after he gets his butt kicked by this guy. Kyle?
So this is where I mentioned this a little earlier about agreeing something with Gene Siskel. The climatic fight scene, his showdown with these two supposedly best of the best hitman. Those hitmen go down pretty damn easy when you think about it. They don't. The drug dealer was more of a challenge to Sean Connery than those two guys were.
Yeah,
and I felt like that. I can understand what Gene Siskel was saying, because that was maybe my biggest disappointment in the movie. It was like, okay, these are supposed to be the best of the best, and he takes them out. he has a harder time with the dirty sergeant at the end than he does with the two hitmen, ace hitmen.
Well, I mean, Kyle, these two hitmen are, they stop in the middle of the intersection of a corridor.
Yeah.
Where anybody could see to stop and put their guns together. It's like, okay, these guys don't know really the meaning of the word subtle. I would agree with Kevin that the running and the fighting scene is great because not a single person stops to help Connery. He runs basically through the entire place. Nobody stops, which is illustrative. I do have a quick question for you about the fight at the end with Ballard, which is the second sergeant. It seems to me that at one point when O'Neill taps into the line, it's clear then that he realizes that Shepard has an inside man. He says, I have an inside man in the police, so we're fine. I thought, okay, so Connery knows that he has an inside man, but he seems not to worry about either who it is or that it's Ballard. But so I'm wondering, is Connery really surprised when he's ambushed by at the end? Because it seems to me they never pay off the fact that Connery knows one of the cops is an inside man, because this is after Montone's died.
Right.
But never really seems to worry about it.
Because I figured out everybody was dirty at that point.
Yeah, he's expecting. I think everyone's under the radar here because he's not getting any help whatsoever.
Yeah.
I did want to mention though. So our next one here is you took him out with what? Your favorite weapon or inanimate object used as a weapon? Guns, and we pretty much just get one thing here. We get the shotgun. The main weapon seen in the movie is a sawed-off Browning 2000 shotgun. Federal Marshal William O'Neill, Sean Connery, Shepard, Peter Boyle, as well as other marshals are seen using the shotgun, but it appears that there's only one practical shotgun used in the film. And we do see a scene where there's like 3 or 4 of them in a case there. But the shotgun is really the only thing. I have a feeling that the shotgun seems to be the universal gun that just stays with the alien universe, because Hicks later on uses it because he likes to keep it around for close encounters.
Well, here's another aspect of it, and actually this movie shows it. The shotgun he's using is probably much safer to use in a space station than like a rifle or something, because we know what a bullet can do if it goes through a wall or a window. And on there with the shotgun, because it's a spread blast and probably not as powerful for penetrating through metal unless you're just point blank.
Yeah,
it makes more sense because you see where the guys have the more high powered rifles, and it kind of betrays him in the greenhouse.
Well, the shotguns used by the hitman are the same weapon, just with scopes. Pretty much is what it is there. So yeah.
But I think it's just a shotgun in a space station makes more sense than like a M16 per se.
Yeah. And I want to throw into the mix for your consideration. This is not a weapon as such, but I want to nominate I think he got this from Q Branch, the neck guard.
Oh, that
he uses to save himself from strangulation in the meat locker. I think there you go. I mean,
but truthfully, the ultimate weapon in this, and it's just an object. It's out there. Nothing beats the vacuum of space.
There you go. All right, guys. We also like to talk about the Sean Bean Award for the best death scene, and we've got a few here. People getting exposed to space and having heads explode, like Scanners, but maybe not as good as Scanners.
Well, I said Scanners was 4 months earlier. So
we also got Steven Berkoff, where he gets shotgunned to death. But I also have a picture of him getting shot to death at the end of Beverly Hills Cop. So he's good at death scenes. And then the guy he chased down that he kept in that kind of like floating zero gravity prison, and someone got to him, and you see the blood all over the room. What's your favorite death scene, guys? Kyle?
The best death scene is the one we didn't see. It's when whoever the drug dealers or the corporations actually get a hold of Shepard and punish him. That's going to be the best death scene, but we just didn't see it. As far as in the movie, I actually like it when he turns on the lights to the zero gravity and the guy's been killed, especially because he's like, nobody lays a hand on this guy and stuff like that. And you knew it was coming, but to see the guy hanging there in zero gravity with the blood everywhere is a pretty good visual.
Yeah. All right. Next, we have the Kenny Loggins or John Williams use of music or song in a movie. And this had a really good soundtrack if you paid attention to it. And it's also the composer's Jerry Goldsmith. We know him for a lot of films, including even Star Trek-y stuff, right, Gary?
Oh, yeah. I mean, boy, where would we be if he had not composed the the score for Star Trek: The Motion Picture.
And
But-
I also have an LP version that I found at a local record store, and this thing is really cool. And of course, it's done by Jerry Goldsmith, and it's got some really good instrumentals in this as well. And he also worked. He worked with Peter Hyams, worked with Jerry Goldsmith on Capricorn 1 as well.
Yeah,
the
opening fanfare for the first couple minutes, establishing the mood and everything is critical. And that's really he for the tone and for the setting, the score is just fantastic.
Yeah. Are you sure that wasn't real? Best special effects scene. Well, we got a lot in this, including the intro vision here. A lot of really cool miniatures that were used here. A lot of love and labor went into this. And when you're looking at the behind the scenes of the mining facility, it's really, really cool stuff. And they used in-camera composition, real-time interaction, a lot of miniatures and models. And then this kind of ties in, guys, to the filming location where they went to Pinewood Studios in England. Now, if you're looking at this picture here, Pinewood Studios there is on the left, and they have a big area outside. If you look to the top right, that picture is actually all of Gotham City for the '89 Batman. They built this entire setup right outside of Pinewood Studios, and it's very, very impressive, those two pictures on the right there. So, yeah. And the filming dates were June 23rd, 1980. Very, very impressive there. So now, one of the fun things I like to ask you guys is here as well, is if you were a non-speaking extra on set, what scene would you want to be in, Gary?
Oh,
I got some nominations. I got the club, the nightclub scene, maybe the introduction scene where you see everyone sitting around the tables. Some other options as well. Where would you like to be?
I would want to be one of the dancers under the blue light, because what that would do is that would show how totally run down a place like this is.
That
if
they would
somebody like me. If somebody like me is who they'd have to go to be one of the featured dancers under the blue light at the bar.
Kyle, what about you? As an extra, what scene would you want to be in?
Well, the most fun would obviously be the bar scene.
Right.
But I have to admit, I wouldn't mind being an extra in the actual police station, because I think that just is a cool setup, and it would just be, you're going to get to see Connery go top over the top with his acting, and just get to see Sean Connery at his finest. I think that would be that'd be very cool.
Yeah, I think the bar scene would have been my first pick, but I would love to have been one of the extras in near the bunks and stuff like that when he's chasing down that drug dealer. That would have been a really cool scene as well. So yeah,
you'd have been one of the guys in the bathroom brushing their teeth or whatever that they show a couple times.
All right. As an extra, you're friends with the on-set prop master. They say you can take one thing home from the set. What are you taking? I got a nomination here. One of the shotguns. Of course, I really like Sean Connery's hat that he wears. That would be a cool thing. Yeah. Gary, what is one of your nominations? What would you?
Well, like you know what? I think I have to, because it's my thing. Absolutely, Sean Connery's hat.
Yeah.
Or if not Sean Connery's hat, because I don't want him to track me down. Maybe one of the other police hats from one of the other people. And if I couldn't get my hand on the hat, it would definitely be one of Peter Boyle's golf clubs.
There you go. What about you, Kyle? What are you taking home from the set?
Well, Gary told me before the podcast started that I had to take home one of the meat racks full of the drugs. But
you would take home one of the sides of beef.
Yeah, well, yeah. But honestly, I mean, I already have the golf simulator set up in the other bedroom. So, you know what? I would actually love to have one of those police force shirts. Yeah. There's something about those that are just kind of cool.
Yeah,
kind of cool. I think that would be a cool thing to have. You have to have the badge and everything.
Yeah, that would be cool. Or like one of the uniforms or something like that. Yeah. So we have the the Titanic "I'm King of the World" career moment. It was an actor or director in this case, the top of their career. Anything else that was trending or newsworthy during this time? And my nomination is Peter Hyams, because obviously I think this film also helps get him other work, including Running Scared, 2010. I really feel like because work on this movie did lead him to being chosen to direct 2010. Both movies take place around the moons of Jupiter, by the way. But as I mentioned too, there's several other films he does during this time. Star Chamber was one of those films I discovered later on when we were doing Time Warp, Kyle, and I thought that was a pretty
one of my mom's
movie.
all-time favorite films.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I don't know. Do you guys agree? Do you think, Gary, do you think Peter is having a King of the World moment during this time?
I actually think of all the movies that I see here, as much as I love 2010, Outland is still ranks as the top for me. It saddens me that I was watching one of the extras on the 4K, and in one of the interviews, I think one of the archive interviews with Peter Hyams, he says that he can't watch any of his movies because all he can see is he can't see the good in them. All he sees is what he doesn't like or what he wishes he'd done differently, and that really saddens me because I would like to think that he would be able to appreciate the quality of his work and how it's lasted so long because people love it.
Yeah. I feel there, it's funny. Donald Sutherland's like that. He can't watch himself in anything that he's done. He just, he does it as an actor, but he can't watch, his films and stuff. But I feel like Peter Hyams was making a name for himself. I feel like the first film I remember seeing him actually was Running Scared. That was the first Peter Hyams film I remember seeing. I saw that in the theater, and I absolutely love that film. What about you, Kyle?
I think if you're going with the human element, it's Peter Hyams, but the truth of the matter is the King of the World moment belongs to Io. I mean, come on. This is the highlight of Io's career.
Jupiter and its moons.
Well, specifically Io, but yeah, this is the highlight of Io's career.
After this movie, Io's agent was able to get it a better deal for appearances in future sci-fi movies.
Yeah. The price, Io might have priced itself out of a career.
That's right.
All right, guys. One of the last things we do before we get to our final thoughts is what happens next. What if there was a sequel? Now, this film kind of ends where he's going to be going back to Earth and seeing the family and stuff. But if this movie just blew up and it got a sequel and Connery got his nice paycheck, how would you see him do it? Would he be somewhere else as a marshal? Would he be part of going back to this station and changing things? What say you, Gary?
Remember, this is 1981, so you figure, okay, what the sequel would have been in, 83, 84. They're on the shuttle back to Earth when terrorists fly in and try to take over the shuttle, and somehow Connery gets accidentally waken up, and he has to defend the shuttle against all of the terrorists, and maybe you call it Moon Hard. But I think, okay,
Space Hard. Call it Space Hard.
So it's Sean Connery running around all the ducts of the shuttle, trying to save his wife and his wife and his son, from all the terrorists. I think that's the way to go.
Space Hard. Okay. Kyle, what about you? Sequel? Okay. What do you think it would have been?
I've got a couple of thoughts here. If we're going with this a true sequel, this is very obvious. The shuttle crashes, Connery's son and wife are killed, and he is trapped on a planet with these strange eggs and weird creatures.
Oh, Jesus. Please don't say prison planet. Please don't say prison planet.
No, I was going to say it was designated LV something. I don't know. But I also
got you away from her, you bitch.
Yeah, I also need to throw this out though, because if you're going to, let's say we have a modern remake of this film, there is only one man who can play the Sean Connery role. And you will, if Kevin, I'm trusting you to know this as soon as I say it, but your lead character is a marshal. There is only one man who's allowed to play marshal.
Timothy Oliphant.
You give that man the Ruby Prize.
Very good. I was going to say Ryan Reynolds, but Timothy Oliphant's better.
Timothy Oliphant
is the only man allowed to play a marshal in Hollywood anymore. So, Outland remake with Timothy Oliphant.
Well, what I'm wondering is if you have a space station on Io, the planet of Jupiter, I'm wondering what other space stations somewhere that maybe Sean Connery's character would be reassigned to, or what's happening on Earth. Is he, is there a place on Earth where he's, resumes his job and he's closer, obviously, he's still with his family and stuff. I would like to have seen maybe something like that.
Truthfully, if you're going to go with a true signal, it's him getting back to Earth, taking a job, but the company wants payback. And so
the corruption is still there. It's now on Earth, maybe.
Yeah. And the company is looking at him to get payback somehow.
Yeah.
Or maybe that he gets, I don't know, something might happen to his wife, maybe not. But if something happens to his wife, he takes his young son and is assigned to command a space station, maybe out at the edge of the galaxy, maybe next to some kind of phenomenon like a wormhole or something. and he meets all kinds of strange aliens there. That might work with Sean Connery.
The truth is, Kevin, when I gave my original pitch about the ship crashing, he would have been a prison planet. He would have just become the new warden of the prison planet.
Gary, you're funny. All right, guys, let's get your final thoughts here on Outland. Gary, I was happy and tickled that when I think we were doing a Union Federation podcast, Outland came up and you had the same 4K I did. Thank you so much for coming on here. Let me get your final thoughts on Outland.
You're very welcome. This is, as I said, one of my favorite sci-fi films. I think Connery is, pardon the pun, stellar in this. I think that even at the time, if it was a massively underrated and maybe temporarily kind of disregarded movie, I'm glad it stood the test of time and is now seen as, whether for its alien connection or not, a movie that really rewards viewing, and I believe multiple viewing. I think there's a lot of humanity in the movie. I think Connery may be at his most, one of his most kind of vulnerable and therefore fascinating performances. So I think that this movie, or production design, I think this movie really rewards a lot of viewing. And I do want to say that if you are a fan of this movie and also a comics fan, that in 1981, comics legend Jim Steranko, one of the best comics artists that's ever existed, did a serialized version of this film in 6 issues of Heavy Metal magazine in 1981. And they're mostly just gorgeous double-page spreads of, telling the whole movie over the course. And I think it was collected in like an out-of-print graphic novel, but you can still compile all the pages by kind of digging into the net.
I gotta look into that because I was a huge fan.
It was published in France as a graphic novel in France, but the US version, either for the individual issues in Heavy Metal in 1981 or as a collection, if you do a little digging on the net and Google, you can compile all those pages, and it is a beautiful version of this movie.
That's cool. I gotta look that up. Kyle, give me your final thoughts on Outland.
A movie of its time. This was how sci-fi was done, especially in the early 80s, like this. And you get a big name star. Maybe that's a big chunk of your budget, but they find a way to make it work, and they really do make this movie work. And like I said earlier, one of my favorite things about this movie is how tight it is, and how well the story. There's never any stopping. There's no slow. Even when there's a slow moment, it's not a slow moment. And I think this was the style of filmmaking, especially back in the early 80s, that worked so well for films. And again, I think this movie is very heavily influenced by the science fiction that was coming out before it. It's grown cult status, not only because of just being Sean Connery in a science fiction movie, but because of the possible tie-ins with it, it makes for very interesting discussion. And the thing about this movie is, even though it's a science fiction movie, it's a story that could have been done in 18 different ways. It could have been done on modern Earth. It could have been done in the past. It's a classic storytelling, and this one is just, it's very intriguing. It's very keep you on your toes and making you wonder. And I think that's what the great thing is about this film. But now, as we're getting ready to close out, though, Gary, I'm looking up at the clock. The shuttle just arrived. I think we better get out of here and leave Kevin to his things.
Well, I was looking up on the old internets there, and you're right, Gary. They have. Let me go ahead and put this up here. There we go. Hold on. I had it here. Let's see. I'm trying to get the pictures here.
You have to take the slideshow out first.
Yeah, there you go. Now add to Sage here. So here we go. Here's some of the covers if you're watching the video. And I remember these covers. And Kyle, one of the covers has the famous heavy metal movie.
That's
heroine.
That's heavy. You realize that's heavy metal issue number, I think, 3.
I don't know. I think I may have another one here as well. But I see that there's was there like another comic strip that was released, or a book or something? You said,
well,
Gary?
like it was published. It was collected and published in France, but it was also collected. I don't know how widely distributed it was. It's long out of print in the U.S., but it was collected and printed in the U.S. It's really only about like 40 pages when you add together all of the double page spreads. But Internet Archive, if you want to search for Heavy Metal Steranko or LibGen, LIBGEN, those sources where you find like downloadable stuff, those are on there, I promise you. So
yeah,
you can find them.
I have a little information on this too, Kevin, because I was wrong. I was thinking of another cover, but the issues of Heavy Metal that the adaptation was in started with issue 51 in June 1981 and ran through issue 52, 53, 54, 55, and 58, which came out ending it in January 1982.
That's cool. I did not know that. I never noticed it because my dad used to buy it, and when he was like done with it, I would like sneak over and like read the Heavy Metal because it was the adult illustrated fantasy magazine, and there was a lot of violence and nudity in it. And that's why I liked it. And I remember he caught me reading it once, and then he looked at me. I was like, "Oh no, I'm in trouble." He's like, "Well, and what story are you on?"
it will reward your search, believe me, because Steranko is a legend, and the art is gorgeous.
Yes. Sternhagen is considered one of the greatest space comic book artists of all time.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I am a huge fan of this film, and it was as soon as I watched it, it just stuck with me, and I think it's one of Sean Connery's most underrated roles, to be honest with you, because his character's not over the edge. It's not dashing, it's gritty. And then of course we see him later on in bigger roles. Of course, Hunt for Red October, one of his biggest roles as well. And of course, Indiana Jones's father in The Last Crusade. But there's just something kind of cool and gritty about his character, and a matter of fact. And I really enjoy his performance in this. And it's very underrated.
And if I could really quickly, I think honestly, one of the reasons why I think this movie is not only so good, but I think stands the test of time, is because his conflict in this movie is so eminently relatable even now. I mean, how many of us don't question, am I just my job? Is there, how much do I have to sacrifice in order to just get by? I mean, the things that he is struggling with in this movie are things that in some way, shape, or form, I think all of us have struggled with. Or at least questioned. And I think that he plays it so well. And I think, honestly, that's one of the reasons why this movie is still so impactful, even after all these years.
Excellent point. Well, as we wrap things up here, you can find the Fandom Podcast Network on Facebook, Instagram, X, formerly Twitter, Blue Sky. My name is Kevin. You can find me at Spartan_Phoenix on all of the socials, which include X, Instagram, Threads, Discord, and Letterboxd, and also Blue Sky. Kyle, how can we find you?
You can find me, of course, all over the great pages on Facebook for the Fandom Podcast Network. You can find me at Kyle Wagner on Facebook. You can find me on X and Blue Sky at AKyleW, and you can also find me on Instagram and Threads at AKyleFandom, or you can find me hanging around some kitchens, looking for drugs and very hot things of soup, but Sean Connery, after all.
And a reminder, Adam, who is with us here, you can find him on X, Instagram, and Threads, and Blue Sky at The Lethal Mullet. Gary, how can we find you? You are, of course, you can find you as one of our official co-hosts on the Union Federation Star Trek and Orville podcast. But where else can we find you?
Also on FPN on Thursdays on Type 40, talking Doctor Who. On Saturdays on the Spacebook, talking a lot of other genre issues that come up. You can find me on X at Gary A_retro, on Facebook at Gary Akers, Akers, and would love to hear from you.
And also looking at the time, Kevin, it's about time for him to start a shift as the night helmsman of the Union Federation.
That's right.
Yeah.
Unlike Kyle, you won't find me lurking around butcher shops, reaching into sides of beef to see if there's anything to pull out.
You never know what you're gonna find. That's all I'm gonna say.
Well, guys, first of all, thank you, Kyle. Thank you, Gary and Adam. Thank you guys so much. We hope you guys enjoyed this discussion of Outland 1981 here on Couch Potato Theater. Alien 79 prequel? ? I think we made a pretty good case here, and it was a fun discussion, and I like that we can add to it, right, Kyle?
Yeah. And if your shotgun's been moved, I know nothing about it.
Kyle has to get the last joke in. I love it. Well, guys, thank you. As always, thank you. And please check out the Fandom Podcast Network on YouTube. Please subscribe. We'd appreciate that. Share us out. And let us know what you thought of the episode. Put some stuff in the YouTube comments. Email us. Let us know. So, well, until next time, we will see you on the couch. Thank you and goodbye, everybody.